Question we've all been asking ourselves.
That's right.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Brandy's Peach Tea. This is episode 104, for those keeping track. And we are opening up with Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler of the Footloose soundtrack, originally, that we weren't even aware of. But it was also seen in Shazam Fury of the Gods this opening weekend.
Can I tell you the movie that I associate this movie with?
God.
Short Circuit 2.
Yes!
Yes! Because it is in the end when Johnny Five faces off against the evil Michael McKean.
Yes! We both hold a soft spot for both Short Circuit movies.
I love those movies. I mean, I saw them as a kid, and Johnny Five Alive, I was there. I was in for it.
I was all for it. I was a big Steve Gutenberg guy also for a while, too. So.
I was, too, because I inappropriately, in the 80s, guys, those of you who are younger than us, in the 80s, your parents didn't give a shit what you watched, which is why I have the mouth of a truck driver and a sailor. And, like, I was just allowed to watch the Police Academy movies when I was, like, 9.
Yeah, same here. Same here. No one's keeping track at all. But yeah, thanks for joining us. If you're joining us on the Facebook live stream, if you're joining us on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, wherever you find our audio-only podcast, we always appreciate the support. And another way for you to show your support, though, as we get this thing going, is if you're checking us on Facebook, go ahead and send us stars and digital gifts that help us earn money for Pop Culture Pro, so we can keep on going ahead and bringing these awesome shows to you. So, you know, bring it on. Bring on the love, baby.
Brothers and sisters of the Red Sun, you must dig deep in your pockets for these stars. You must send us these stars. Be the hero that Superman needs.
Or the hero that Bonnie Tyler's been holding out for since the early 80s. I mean, whichever hero you want to be, you can be.
It's up to you.
Be that guy. Or gal. But with me, as always, is Jason. Jason, what's up, man?
Good to be here, Ed. Nice to see you again. We actually got to hang out on Sunday.
We did.
Watch this Shazam movie we're going to talk about. But I got a new HBO show because you guys, I've been teasing. I'm circling the drain at the Game of Thrones, and so I've fallen upon Rome.
Okay, wow, you are closing in. You are closing in.
I'm closing in, man. And this Rome, I'm telling you, I'm really enjoying this. It makes me laugh. It makes me interested. I mean, I'm a big history guy. I love to look at history, look at human psychology, all that stuff. And the first season of Rome pretty much covers Julius Caesar's taking of the dictatorship up to his assassination. Spoilers for, thousands of years old history, guys. But watching it has been really making me think. It's been making me have this crazy thought experiment exercise of questions I can't answer. Was the murder of Julius Caesar a good thing or a bad thing for the Republic? Because the reason they killed him, one of the reasons, made clear by the show anyway, but I believe this is historically accurate, was he was trying to give more power to people who weren't the rich Roman oligarchs. He was trying to expand the sphere of influence to other Roman cities, and the Senate did not like that. So it's, because taking his power. So was it a good thing or a bad thing, right? His killing. Was it the nail in the Republic's coffin? Second question, more important than the first, how much of our ancestors and how much of the violence that we have bred as a species still holds with us today? Are we a species? Because I look at I watched the stabbing of Julius Caesar just today, and I'm thinking the only thing that stops that from happening in our Senate is the armed guards. if these same exact people, and this is both sides of the bench, I'm not making a judgment call either way, but would definitely murder each other to keep power. I mean, they're doing everything else to keep power, right? Yeah. The rich white oligarchs, by the way, just like the Roman Senate. So I'm curious, like, how much we have removed ourselves from, our ancestors who were also, very violent. And third, and I think most important question is, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? Because I eat these things a lot, and I always, I mean, it's fun to try, but the world may never know the answer to these questions, Ed.
It takes too much patience. I'm sorry. I've never had that kind of restraint to continue with the licks of the Tootsie Roll Pop. I'm with you on that. I just kind of start chomping away, not even thinking about it.
Right, exactly. So these are the important philosophical, unanswerable questions that I have been wrestling with mentally while watching Rome. And you know what? I love it, and I love to watch it while eating Tootsie Pop. So I suggest anyone who's interested in history of Rome, go get yourself a Tootsie Pop and pop that shit on, my friends. Good show.
All right. So I'm really excited for you to watch Game of Thrones. I always feel like you might have to do like a whole side thing about you watching Game of Thrones.
That might just be the bit until I'm finished, like with the Sopranos, right? That'll just be what I talk about when I open the show.
Yeah,
or when you share out the show.
Yeah, and you're gonna go ahead and you'll catch up with House of the Dragon, because I'm sure I would be shocked if you're not all in on Game of Thrones. I mean, the last season is what it is.
Yeah. But here's the thing: even if I'm not all in, if I finish Game of Thrones, I'm 100% going to this
House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon for no other reason than that one of the doctors is in it, Matt Smith.
Okay, yeah, no, he isn't. He's actually great he's great in House of the Dragon.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
No, he really is. Like, despite if you're watching this and maybe you only know him of Morbius, unfortunately, don't take that. No.
You got to look. Doctor Who. Actually, well, God, I always forget the name of this, but that murder mystery thing that he was in, where the woman has dreams about going back to the 60s and she witnesses a murder.
I didn't see that. But I wanted to, though.
It's good. I enjoyed it. It's crazy. You got to buy into it, but it's good, and he plays a really good bad guy.
Yeah, it seems like that's kind of his thing. Like, it's falling into he's definitely playing more like a villain type.
Which do it, because it's funny, because on Doctor Who he's one of the most wholesome doctors. He's of all of the people who've played the Doctor, he's one of the nicest. As characterizing the Doctor, the guy who took over him was an angry old Scotsman, so it's funny that he started his career as a good guy and now he's taking these bad guy roles.
He seems to be really great at it. Hopefully he gets an MCU proper, role at some point, and then we can move on from this, or at least for our preview for the show. Yeah. We can hope for that.
Right, exactly. Well, no, I always hope that for all the actors I like, because it means this.
Of course. Why not?
Yeah.
Do well. All right, well, let's jump right into it, as we got a couple of CW shows to get through.
Oh, God, we do.
Before
through.
Get through. I do think it's going to be some interesting conversation, though. But let's kick things off with The Flash, Season 9, Episode 6, which... I mean, there's no other way to put it, dude. I texted you this because I watched this yesterday, and this is one of the worst episodes of The Flash I can remember, ever.
Dreadful. This was dreadful.
So the short-term thing, and then we can get into exactly what the issues are. Lady Luck returns because apparently she returns because of Crisis, and we've kind of gotten that explanation a couple of times so far.
Yeah.
Oh, because Crisis. And that's it. That's the hand wave.
A, that's the laziest of lazy explanations, and B, I would accept it if it was about a character I gave a shit about, but I didn't even remember Lady Luck, to be honest with you.
I unfortunately did, but didn't give a shit about her the first time, and gave a shit about her less.
Right.
It just got a huge eye roll for me.
She was the Thinker season, right? When he was creating metas and stealing their powers. So like, so obviously I do remember who she was, but I didn't give a shit about it. I wasn't like I remember watching that season, then I went, all right, that's fine. She was inoffensive, but now they've made her offensive.
Because they're using her. And what we've talked about is you have 10 episodes. This is your final season. Why do we have essentially a flashless Flash episode in the final season that sets up? I mean, I'm hoping it's nothing because I don't want to like see her again. The character is uninteresting. This story that they told this week was extremely uninteresting. I mean, it was like giving. It was one of those episodes where they give all the supporting characters Team Flash the spotlight, and you're like, no, I'm sorry, but this is the Flash.
Yeah. And look, I'm even going to be more forgiving than you. It was a different story when you gave me flashless episodes that focused on Cisco and Wells and Papa Joe and Caitlin and or Killer Frost. But none of them are around anymore. You're giving me a flashless episode that revolves around, checks notes, Chester, who, the least offensive of them, I think. Cecile, who's just become overpowered goddess, terrible mother. Allegra, which I'm not gonna keep beating on this dead horse. Anyone who's heard this show twice knows how we feel about Allegra. Bartender, who should be dead. And Keon, which it's like, how did you, like, writers, I want to sit down and go, guys, why did you decide to get rid of two interesting characters to give us nothing?
Yeah.
I mean, this is abysmal. I think the actress who plays Keon at this point is thinking, God, I should have left when the guy who played Cisco left. This is demoralizing. This is debasing.
Yeah, she's really good, like Danielle Panabaker.
Yeah, the actress is great. Yeah. She's got nothing to do here.
No, this whole Keon thing is just, it's falling flat for me. I was hoping it was going to lead to something cool, but apparently it's not. But whatever. Let's get through the whole story over here. Lady Luck returns. Her luck is turned bad, and we find that it has to do with like the engagement ring that she has that's twisted her powers, and then she's kidnapped by a blackjack dealer to kind of be the I'm sorry, I'm not chasing the dealer, basically the dealer.
Yeah, the dealer.
Yeah. So goes ahead and so she can be the dealer who loses, so the house keeps losing, so he keeps winning. That was the plan.
That was the plan. They were going to turn her into the whole thing is this thing weaponizes her luck and it gives other people luck while making her unlucky.
Yes.
So the plan, but like, why wasn't the plan this? You romance her, you don't give her that, you take her to Vegas, you let her sit next to you, you win a shit ton of money at blackjack, and then you disappear on her. Isn't that a better, more manageable, feasible plan here than creating this fucking thing that sets everything off around? Like, it's just it was the stupidest garbage.
Yeah, it was brutal. Barry and Iris are nowhere around because they go on a baby moon. So that was the way to write them out.
And I want to address that because I think, as a parent, I think it's very important to recognize that as characters, once you realize you're having a child, you want to say goodbye to your single or married childless life. And sometimes you want to say that with a kiss big enough for a couple who go on their baby moon to say goodbye to their their non-childhood existence. But as writers, as a show, this is a short last season of The Flash. Why are you giving us flashless episodes? Is it contractual that those two get to take a fucking vacation every 3 episodes?
Yeah, it's not what you want. I'll quote former Yankees manager Joe Girardi. He used to say it's not what you want as a sarcastic way of not answering the obvious question when something went bad, and I just love that quote. But Allegra does something in this episode, Jason. She actually uses her powers, which we didn't even know I was still very vague on her powers, and I'm still am, but at least she does something where she can see like neon light. Like, I guess.
I guess that's her power this
I don't
week.
know. Whatever. She actually has some sort of function briefly, so I'll give her that. There's a Mr. Freeze name drop, which I don't know if you know. Yeah, Chester name drops Mr. Freeze.
He does.
Just saying, he exists in this universe, but we knew he existed in this universe previously if you watched Batwoman, because Batwoman was there. So whatever, it was a little fun name drop there of a shared universe. So Seal's powers are wonky because she's a weekend mom.
I guess.
That we all knew, but we talked about this last week.
When
her and Joe made that agreement, we knew this was a stupid idea, and she was acting really excited about it. And what do you know? A week later, she's already like regretting it, like, this is dumb. Yes, Cecile, we knew this was dumb. We knew that you weren't excited about it either. So, duh. And Chester and Allegra can't stop with the PDA now? Like, they just keep on kissing in front of everybody now? Like teenagers?
Thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. This is a teenage relationship. Except, as someone who works with teenagers, I've seen teenagers act more mature in their couplings. I've actually had a couple in the same group, working group-wise, and I didn't even know they were together. You know what? Team teenager for the win over Chester and Allegra, who were acting like fucking children here.
And then there's this whole thing about like discovering Keon's powers because she doesn't have powers.
But does she
might be something else? I don't know, man. I don't even care. I just don't care.
That's it. Like, I don't care. It's like you took away Killer Frost and Caitlin, who were actually characters I was interested in, and you gave me this, and you expect me to care with 9 or 10 episodes left of the show without the main character. I'm going to say something I don't think I've ever said, even to Batwoman. Fuck you, show.
Oh wow! So that's Jason, right. Are we the most upset with the CW show we've ever been?
Until the next segment, yes.
Oh wow! So let's not waste any time because this should be very interesting. So for those of you who follow our show, you know that Jason and I are both Batman fanboys. Like we do. I will admit, Jason, this is his guy. Like Spider-Man is my guy, but Batman is like right behind him, and it's fine. We flip-flop on that. But we both hold Batman very close to our hearts. So DCW did debut Gotham Knights, which Jason and I trying to figure out why it exists at any point, but Jason, take over because I have a feeling this is gonna get interesting.
All right. What the fuck is this? I mean, serious. I want to prove to you guys that I have notes because it was my job to run this, but I'm not going to refer to these notes for the most part.
Oh my God.
Because I want to pay as much respect to this show as it pays to the fucking Batman source material, as it pays to any of the Batman movies. Fuck. I want to pay the respect this show pays to that garbage thing we watched, Batman and Robin with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay? Which is to say, no respect at all. This is absolute fucking garbage. Who is this made for? I want to meet the people this is made for. Okay? Because I'll give the setup of the show, guys. Here's the setup of the show. We're in Gotham City. And we only know 2 people. We know 3 people, okay? We know Bruce Wayne, who we're never going to see, even in his fucking death. We know Harvey Dent, who's not Two-Face, nor criminal or villainous at all. And we know, I don't know, what was that girl's name?
I will drop it. Carrie Kelly is in this show because for those who may not be familiar, Carrie Kelly was the Robin in The Dark Knight Returns. Also, Jason, there was something I did think about. They do also show the mutant gang from The Dark Knight Returns also.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Clip, which doesn't hold any weight, but still. You're
right, they do. But all of that is meaningless because this is not the world of The Dark Knight Returns. Therefore, the mutant gangs aren't actually mutants, and this girl is not the girl from the comic book. And I want to make it clear. It's not because she's black and that girl's white. I don't give a shit about that. That girl had a futuristic punk aesthetic. and a relationship with old man on the run Batman that does not exist at all in this. This Robin is only given that name to somehow lend credence to this Batman-less Batman that also has no Batman characters in it.
Yeah, because we were talking about this yesterday, that where do we stand on the Batman-less Batman shows and Gotham being the another one, and if we want to consider Batwoman could be that show or could not be that show. I mean, I don't know. It does focus on another member of the Bat family, at least.
I mean, that's look. I would watch if you gave me a choice to continue watching this, or actually force myself to sit down and watch the first Kate Kane season of Batwoman. I would choose Batwoman because at least those are characters in the Bat family that exist.
As the one who did watch season 1 of Batwoman was off to a better start.
There you go.
I would say that from what I could recall, Batwoman was off to a better start. As many times as that show had me rolling my eyes as well.
I mean, that show at least was grounded in something that had to do with the Bat family and the comic books. And as I said, it wasn't for me, but I could see who it was for. And eventually, actually, it was for me because I enjoyed the shit out of that third season. But like this whole thing is like, so Batman has an adopted son, and in the first half of my notes, I just referred to him as Dick because I just assumed it was Dick Grayson. My bad. This was called Gotham Knights. I thought I'd have a Gotham Knight in the fucking show. I don't. That was stupid of me to assume. It's instead this guy called Turner, who doesn't know Bruce Wayne's Batman and was raised by him, and only finds out after Bruce Wayne is murdered with Joe Chill's gun. Oh, they dropped the Joe Chill name. Doesn't that make it Batman? Fuck you, show. Oh, wow. Fuck you in the ass until your ass is perfect donkey asshole. Thank you very much, Howard Stern, for that. I always refer to that.
Oh man, wow. This is like almost Amazing Spider-Man 2 territory.
This is horrible. This is horrible because they promised Gotham Knights. Actually, I told you this, Ed. I bought the game Gotham Knights, which has mixed reviews for PS5. And I haven't played it yet because I'm still playing through Cyberpunk, and I have a rule that I don't go back and forth with games because it messes up my understanding of my muscle memory of the controls. And I like the perfect games. But I was going to break that rule and play Gotham Knights before we went on tonight. But then I watched this and I went, why? I might as well just talk about Cyberpunk 2077 for how much these games would have represented this show that we watched.
Man, there was, I don't know. This felt extremely CW. The show, seriously CW.
It's the Muppet Babies of Batman.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Because we got, it's Batman's son, Batman Jr., who's kind of green. And we got the Joker's daughter because, the Joker knocked a woman up in Arkham Asylum. And this woman was raised in Arkham Asylum because, there is apparently no fucking social workers in Gotham City in this world. There's no foster care system. Again, fuck you, lazy writing. And then she gets out of Arkham Asylum as a super criminal, go figure. And not name drops, but drops that he left her mother for Harley Quinn. It's like, what are we even doing? Why do I need baby bats and baby Joker on the same side? I don't actually. That's a rhetorical question. I can fucking tell you I don't need that.
Well, I think they're trying to give you some sort of... I just feel like this show is really stretching for its own existence because, let's say, you had to create another child for Bruce Wayne to adopt because the first couple of Robins weren't going to do it?
Because
or were you not allowed to use their names because their names are being used elsewhere?
And if you weren't, then why are you making this show?
I don't know. I wish I had a great explanation for you, but I don't. And then you have the Joker's daughter. So, yeah, exactly. Part of the background what you were saying was she gives this little exposition of her own origin, and pretty much she was born in Arkham Asylum because the Joker knocked up some random person who goes unnamed in Arkham Asylum and gives birth in Arkham Asylum and is raised. So you have inmates walking around with their children?
Right. What is
That's
this?
what's going on?
Is this the hole that Bane grew up in? I mean,
I don't know, man. I was blown away by that. Yeah, and he's upset, and then she's upset because he left her mother. Joker left her mother for Harley Quinn as an easy way to escape. He was just name dropping to name drop to be like, hey, remember these people?
And that's it. That's what pissed me off about the Joe Chill gun. It was just to name drop. That means that's meaningless, right? And so the whole thing, I'll give the fucking little mini version of this piece of shit. Bruce Wayne is killed in his office, shot and thrown out a window. And they set up the Joker's daughter with these other nobody characters, thieves who they pay to go steal something. They see Joe Chill's gun. They go, let's get our fingerprints all over it, nice and incriminating wise, while we look at the open window where there's blood written, your Batman's dead. Let's get our fingers all over Joe Chill's gun. And then, oh, gee, they get arrested. Oh, but wait, what a twist. Turner, whatever the fuck his name is also being implicated, and they're in the same cell. And then they break out of prison together, and they're a team. I mean, give me a fucking break. Give me a break. Break me off a piece of a Kit Kat bar so at least I have something sweet to swallow while I watch this garbage. And then that's the setup. Then they're together and they have to go solve the murder. And oh wait, Court of Owls, blah, blah, just throwing up names. Blah, Court of Owls is here. But it's like, guess what? This isn't the Court of Owls because the Court of Owls didn't murder Batman and try to frame his son because he doesn't fucking have a non-Robin son in the comic.
Or any other iteration for that matter.
Or any other iteration. Exactly.
Yeah, this is. I Jason, we were talking, and I mentioned like I try to take some of this crap as like, okay, this is supposedly a multiverse. I'll buy into your multiverse concept, and this is a DC universe where this happens. It sounds like one of the most boring multiverses ever.
It's like I agree with you. I can accept this as a DC multiverse, but I don't want to watch it. I also don't want to watch the DC multiverse where the Justice League never got their powers and opened up a fucking restaurant together. Actually, no, that actually sounds really entertaining. I would want to watch that. See, which just goes to show you a joke I'm doing on a podcast is more interesting than what this show actually is. This might be the most boring multiverse in all of the Elseworlds.
Yeah, this is. I'm really hoping it gets better on some level because there will be more episodes to watch. Put it that way.
I'm hoping it gets shit canned very quickly and we can move past it, and that's it.
Yes.
I'm just hoping it gets shit canned very quickly and I never have to think about this again. This is awful.
Oh man, so that is okay. So that I guess that's Gotham Knights. I mean, we don't really have that much to say about it. I mean, it's as
curse
lame,
a bit more if the audience wants.
it's as lame as you may have anticipated, because I know on our page there was a lot of mocking of it, our Facebook page and stuff like that, as the trailers were coming out, as the promotional material was coming out. It is living up to the billing of all the lameness that we thought it was. Yeah. So, unfortunately, I was hoping it was going to be at least somewhat watchable, but this was pretty brutal.
Look, I went in trying to give it a chance, but then again, I didn't watch any of those promotional materials, and I avoid spoilers unless I have to talk about them on the show. So I stupidly went into this show thinking that was actually some of the Bat family, the Gotham Knights. So, that was me.
But if only you were making the show, Jason, or both of us.
Yeah, well, then it would be quality. I mean, yes. Then people who've actually read a Batman comic book once in their life would have actually had a toe in this. I mean, at least Batwoman, as much as I railed on some of that in that second season, at least it was rooted in the comic. At least it had the excuse that their lead bailed on them halfway through. And at least in that third season, they were like, okay, we're not going to give you, this is obviously a post-Batman world, which is interesting in and of itself. Like, this is a post-Batman Gotham where someone is trying to do the work that he left behind, and they at least gave us these interesting or not interesting, maybe infuriating. I don't know. Some people hated that show, but they attempted to give us iterations of characters that we knew.
Yeah.
That is more than this show is attempting at all. And if this is our main cast, I don't actually give a shit if we get like, oh, this is Mr. Freeze's son. Oh, this is Bane's son. I don't give a shit.
If we got Bane's son and he spoke like Bane in in like the Harley Quinn thing, then yeah, I'll probably go for it then.
Yeah, but they're not going to be that funny. Like if it's Bane's son, it's just like he's just an administrator in a shitty company. Yeah, I'll turn my opinion around on this, but I don't see that happening.
If only. All right, so it sounds like we got a little bit of a chore each week to carry with that. But let's get to something that was not a chore whatsoever. That was Superman and Lois, Season 3, Episode 1. Thank God for Superman, because he has truly saved the day on the CW and our show.
As always, raise your hands, brothers and sisters, for the red sun has shed his red light upon us, and he has delivered us from the evils. That was the Flash, the monstrosity. That was Gotham Knights. Oh, Kal-El, we are in your debt forever.
So the best thing about this for me was that it picks up 27 days later. Not 28 days later, but 27 days later after the season finale of episode 2. If they took one more day, who knows what would have happened? The show could have gone completely off the rails.
It just would have been Kal-El walking around going, hello.
I hate 28 days later. I always have. I always will. Tim, if he's listening, knows he shares my hatred for that film. But let's move on. We got a new Fortress of Solitude that apparently is a bit more high tech and is for the fun for the whole family that we've got now. Clark is working at the Smallville Gazette now, so he's back in his reporter vibes going on. So that's cool. Apparently, his brother Tal is now residing in the Bizarro world, which we knew that was going to happen at the end of last season. But he left behind a villa, which apparently is a baby-making villa for Superman and Lois, because Clark whisked her off at a moment's notice, and Jason, they
got it on. We see Superman and Lois like not fucking, because this is still a CW family show, but like post-coitus, like, you know, naked from the top up, seeing Lois's back, no side boob, like rolling off of Clark. Like, I was scandalized for its considering that I had watched this last, so I had just watched Chester and Allegra's, like, you know, 12-year-old flirtation, and now I get to see two adult married people fucking in a Superman show. Yes,
dude, that right there is a huge thing of the differences between what the Flash has become now and what Superman and Lois is. It's the adult is in the room. The adult show has arrived, and then you have the children playing. And it sucks, man, because I really don't like banging on the Flash as much as we do. But Superman and Lois has now proved to be the best. They've divorced themselves from the Arrowverse as well, so they're kind of just on their own now.
Yeah, which smart move, because the Arrowverse is crumbling.
Yeah, so they're the CW, the DC CW flagship show with no question now. Like they have taken over, and this happened in season 1. We also get an introduction to Bruno Mannheim and the Intergang, which is big Superman villain from the comics. So that's being set here as well, so that the seeds have been planted throughout this episode for this season. We also know we are getting Lex Luthor in this season, and it's not going to be John Cryer, but we got a lot of Walking Dead alumni filing into Superman and Lois now, which is fine. The Walking Dead had some damn, whatever you thought of the show over the years, the acting was usually top notch. So, you know, we do have that. So we get the introduction of Bruno Mannheim and Intergang. We also got new Jordan Kent. I'm sorry, new Jonathan Kent, who was introduced in this episode as well. I thought he fit in seamlessly, honestly. I mean, I know it sucks the old guy. The kid had to, he decided to take a step back from acting due to anxiety and stuff like that. So it wasn't like something bad happened or he was fired or something. But new guy worked for me. I mean, he stepped in seamlessly.
Same here. There was that moment, and of course you needed it. But when he was introducing, well, it's me and Lois, and I forget their names. Which one is the one that was replaced Jonathan?
Jonathan, yeah.
Yeah, so then they like, and Jonathan, and there's a freeze frame on him, make sure that this is but like you got to do that for the audience. So I'm not knocking it. I was just pointing it out. But yeah, I think he fit in well. He has good chemistry with the brother. And yeah, as you said, it's not like scandal happened. Like the original kid had to go take care of himself. So nothing, you got to do something. You got to replace him. If you can't do it, no one pushed him out. So, and he looks a bit like him too. So I
kind of does. Yeah. I thought he kind of had some of the same mannerisms too. So that's probably why he was like such a seamless transition.
For sure.
But speaking of Jonathan though, his big thing is apparently it's the twins' birthday throughout this episode that gets celebrated, and he has to deal with getting his driver's license. And there's a kind of a scene to call back to last season where he goes to take his driver's ed course, and bang, he has his old high school coach who's there who happens to be doing that, and he makes a crack about, well, are you going to go ahead and destroy this? Like, you went ahead and destroyed my football team. Yeah. And I wonder why I would have to have a second job now. But he passes the test, so he's got his freedom and stuff like that. Because when you get your driver's license, you feel like the world is your oyster now, and that's that type of thing. So, congrats to him. But the other brother, Jordan Kent, who has the powers, he's going ahead and he's getting trained. I mean, he's flying now, flying to the Fortress of Solitude, flying apparently to Malaysia, because he's also hearing, when things are going wrong, like Superman does. And he tries to save the day, and then Superman goes ahead and hears that, incident going on as well. He shows up. Jordan is already on the scene, and Superman has to save the day from Jordan as well. So he pretty much tells him, listen, moving forward, unless I give you the okay, you can't just go around, revealing your identity and saving people and all this other crap. Like, you got to chill out, which does set up an interesting scene later in the episode, though, because there is a scene where Superman is going ahead and he's in a battle with a character named Henry Miller, who was given powers by Bruno Mannheim, we find out later on. But he's battling him, and Jordan is trying to talk at a barbecue, and he hears his father's battle going on. You can tell he's concerned, and he's like, but he's got to sit it out. So I thought that was a really interesting thing for Jordan to have to deal with, because Superman's going to be doing all the stuff where he's going to hear all this shit, and he's been kind of benched right now.
Yeah. No, and I think those two stories are the reason that this show works so well for me. Like, and it's the reason it's called Superman and Lois, right? Because those are two great tastes that go great together. Now with Reese's Puff in the creamy center, but
I know this is going. Wow. Okay.
But the fact is like, this is Superman and Lois, and it balances, right? There's always a balance of the superhero stuff that Superman does and the real world stuff that Lois does. And we see that now with the kids, right? Because you have the superpowered kid who is having the equivalent of getting his permit, of learning how to use his powers and getting permission to, okay, you can do this now. Because he's, there was that scene, like the lead up to the Malaysia incident, is Clark going, hey, you can fly home. I got to go to work. And he's like, wait, by myself? So that's kind of like throwing the keys to the car to your 16-year-old kid and going, I trust you to go drive home. You're doing a great job, right? Yeah. And then on the other side, you have Lois trying to teach Jonathan how to drive. And she's frustrating him because she's kind of a control freak and he's just learning. And the what comes of that is he gets his license. So I think it's really interesting that they juxtapose like these two, the normal coming of age story and the superhero coming of age story. And we see them play out together that culminates in their birthday. I think that's what makes this show work so well for me.
Yeah, I agree. We've said before that Dad's Superman is not the Superman that we thought we always needed, but apparently it is.
It is.
Because this is right now is the strongest. This is the only live action going Superman at the moment until we get James Gunn's Superman Legacy in a couple of years. So
and I think I've gone on record as saying this is my favorite live action Superman stuff. Like I I wasn't a Cavill. I liked Cavill, but I wasn't a Cavill fanboy. And I respect, as look, I built a whole church over the man, but I respect the Christopher Reeve stuff. But like, this is a realistic take on it. This is a really interesting take on it. So like, I'm loving what they're doing with this character.
Yeah, agreed. We also find out though from Lois that Clark is a terrible driver.
Of course he is.
Yeah, she makes that crack because Jonathan is like, I wish Dad would have been able to help me out. And she's like, stop, your father's a terrible driver. I'm like, so Superman, we find that in this episode, Clark is not a great driver. And also apparently struggles with cooking barbecue because there's a scene at that barbecue that I referenced before that, damn it, what was Lana's ex-husband's?
I forget. Lana's ex-husband. We know.
Yeah, Lana's ex-husband, who we've seen on the grill before and stuff like that. That's like his thing. And he shows up to the barbecue. He's testing out Clark's ribs. And he was just like, dude, you put any dry rub on this? Like, what the hell's going on here? And he's kind of giving him shit. And we also see the coach at that barbecue kind of eating it and doing the move where you kind of spit it into the napkin.
That's right.
And then throw it out.
Yeah. So, which I love seeing things Clark's not good at. And like, of course he's not good at driving, because why would he ever drive unless he had to unless he was having to pick a human person up? It's like, he flies everywhere. Of course he's bad at driving.
And it is fun to see, like you mentioned, it's fun to hear that Superman is not good at certain things.
Yeah, no, I love
that. But we get a Lex name drop, though, because in the episode, once Bruno Mannheim he's first name dropped, Lois is going to try to investigate him, and they do. Her and Clark mentioned they did previously try to investigate him when they were in Metropolis, and they were working for the Daily Daily Planet. I was going to say Daily Bugle. Yes. But she goes to John Henry Irons, his sister of that Earth, because that John Henry Irons is dead.
Yeah, and
the one apparently is from another one.
Apparently, he's a bad motherfucker too.
Yeah, apparently he's like an arms dealer who was in the military and stuff like that. But at that doctor visit, though, there's a belief that Lois might be pregnant right now.
Yeah,
that's an interesting storyline that goes throughout this episode between her and Clark, but having a third child.
I thought that was cool because I genuinely didn't know if this was going to end with she's pregnant or not. Like,
I didn't know either. I thought that's where it was going.
Me too. And the fact that we as comic book fans and we as people who watch this shit constantly, at least for no other reason than we do this show on it, and like, I don't know about you, but I know I can feel the beats of some of these shows because I watched so many of them. The fact that I was still taken aback, like, oh wait, no, that didn't happen, because they invest so much time in, and again, this is the human aspect of Superman. That's what I like about this show. They invest so much time in both Clark and Lois independently and then together, realizing that, yeah, you know what? It'll be hard, but it'll be worth it. Well, our kids are growing up, they're leaving, and I can only imagine that when Finn gets to be that age, I'm going to go, man, I'm really nostalgic about that time. I don't want to go back there, but I'm really nostalgic about it. And they have that moment. They decide they're going to have this baby, and then I won't take that from you because you're driving the show.
Yeah, well, we find out that Lois is not pregnant, but they still want to run more tests and stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel like that's still kind of up in the air right now. I don't know if we can literally nail down the fact that she's definitively not, or there's something else going on. Hopefully she has some sort of sickness or something going on here.
I think after this episode gave me the feeling they were going down the sickness road.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I guess I can kind of see that.
Because the woman's like, no, we've ruled out that you're the doctor. We've ruled out that you're pregnant, but these things we want to run some more tests because we're there's concern or something. So I think maybe they're going to, which I have kudos on them for sucker punching us on that. Like if they set us up for something happy and then they sucker punch us with like Lois has got cancer or something like that, it's like, whoa, okay. I don't think it's that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's probably something maybe to do with the Bizarre World or something like that.
Something like that,
last season. But we also caught up with Lana Lang, So apparently Lana is doing her mayor thing, and she's dealing with mold in the walls, which Clark, by the way, great job showing up to the school, seeing the mold right through the walls with his X-ray vision in 2 seconds, and pretty much calling it out like, dude, there's mold everywhere.
Mold everywhere.
We'll see where that goes. But then the person she was running up against for the mayor last year,
the old mayor,
was like, he's like, listen, you're in over your head. You shouldn't be messing with things. So I'm starting to wonder if there's connections to Bruno Mannheim there or something like that, or there's bigger things going on. I don't think that was just a throwaway line.
Yeah, no, because the whole thing is that she goes, I don't know where I'm going to get the money to fix this.
Yeah.
And she finds money was earmarked by the former mayor for something else that she was like, well, we don't need that. And that's what brings him there. And he's like, no, that money was earmarked. You can't move it. You don't know what you're messing with. So they're obviously setting something up.
Yeah. But then Clark has to leave the twins' birthday because he hears something going on, and which I'm assuming is Metropolis. So he shows up there. That's when he fights Henry Miller, who basically has superpowers as well. They duke it out. Interesting line though, where he's talking about how he's going to throw down with him, and Superman looks around. He's like, not in front of them though, and he grabs him and pretty much throws him to like take that fight elsewhere, not to have a BVS situation. Where we're destroying the fucking city.
Yeah.
But in taking him out, though, there's an alley that's there, and there's a character that shows up with like a circles in his face and like weird hood, and kind of takes out Henry Miller before he can be questioned. But there's no bullets there, so that was kind of interesting. And then Clark also looks up and sees graffiti on the wall that says "Suicide Slums."
That was is that a comic book thing? Did you recognize that?
If it is, it went over my head. I'm not gonna lie. I will probably look into that more, or it'll get acknowledged. But there's definitely something because they had a long pause on that, and it was there. So I can't say that I caught it this time around, but that was the deal with that. And then at the end of the episode, we also see where Bruno Mannheim is kind of, they kind of glue everything together that he's connected with the guy with the circle face and Henry Miller, and setting that up. And then also one quick thing before, where Jordan is also kind of in the friend zone a little bit by Sarah.
Yeah.
I think sticking him there.
You know what? Because they decided they were going to be friends, or she needed some space, which is fine. I think she's being real unfair to him here because he's like, so the whole conversation, like he pretty much they meet up and he's like, here, I got you this from Malaysia because I was there saving some people, and she's like, I'm just your friend, and that's not stuff you give to friends, and it's a fucking glass trinket. Come on. So the kid still has feelings for you. You're gonna chastise him for that. You're not together. He's not pushing you. Leave the guy alone. Let him have his feelings. But then also he's like, well, you're the only one who knows my secret. And she's like, yeah, I know. And that's why you shouldn't be trying to blow your own cover by just giving a friend things. And it's like, I know, fuck you, lady. Like, at that point, if I was him, I'd be like, fuck you. I'm sorry I told you my secret. Because here's the thing, Ed. I don't want to have sex with you at all. No offense. But if I was a superhero and you were the only person who knew my secret and we met up every now and then and I told you about my superhero adventures, I'd likely bring you some superhero
why not?
trinkets.
Why not? Little souvenir from flying around the world. Likewise, man. Why not?
Because who else can I give this shit to? Because I'm flying around. Hey, when am I going to be in Malaysia again? Let me buy something from Malaysia. Wait, what am I going to do with this? I don't want it. Well, hell, there's only one person knows why I would have been in Malaysia. I'm going to give it to them and make them happy. Yeah,
she's kind of being a little harsh on him. So it's pissing me off.
And then at the party, he takes the fucking hint and he respects her wishes. And she's like, oh, you're avoiding me. It's like, no, you told me you told me I was coming on too strong, and now I'm not coming on strong at all, and now I'm not coming on strong enough for you. It's like, and she even has this thing. She's kind of playing a game with him, which she's like, well, I don't know. It doesn't mean I don't care about you. I'm just trying to have my feelings and figure myself out. And it's like, okay, then leave this guy alone then.
Yeah, I think it's horseshit. But last thing on this episode, though, it was directed by Tom Cavanaugh.
Oh, Wells.
Yes, it was Wells.
Yeah, all right. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I do kind of dig that stuff when we get the CW shows. Like, the actors have been getting directorial, situations here. And I also love when Kevin Smith came in and directed some Supergirl. and directed some Flash, so that's always kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I always appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see where they take it, and then that leads us to our movie of the week.
It does.
Which, if you haven't seen by the background or anything like that, is the latest in the DCEU.
In whatever DC is calling itself.
Well, we'll be fair. It's not a DC Studios film because this was made before that they took over. Like their first film won't be official DC Studios film won't be for another year or two.
Right. But I mean, I guess for me, I'm just sort of like it's being kept in the canon, so that's why it's like Black Adam, where it's like, yeah, that was DCEU because it's out of the canon. We're never going to see it again. Like Gunn has said he's not messing with Shazam, or maybe that'll change after the box office. But so that's why it was like, is this DCEU, or because it was said that it might be canon for the new DC studio. So I think it's in a limbo area.
Yeah, I think so. But before we do that, let's go up and throw up that spoiler warning. So Jason and I are going to be discussing this film spoiler-free all over the place. So if you have not seen Shazam! Fury of the Gods, please go ahead and tune off. Come back and check us out once you've seen the film. If you have seen it, welcome, and let's get this thing going. So,
although if you have seen it, this might be a good place to pause and let's go out to the lobby. Let's go out to the lobby. Let's go out to the lobby and get ourselves some Skittles. Skittles, by the way, if you don't know, it's like ambrosia. It's like the nectar of the gods. One taste of this and you could tame a crazy beast. And I'm not talking about women. Am I right, guys?
Taste the rainbow, Jason.
Taste the rainbow, people. Taste it. Taste it all up. Taste it several times until Skittles pours money on you to put them in your fucking movie.
All right, so
and yes, for those of you who've been watching, going, why is Jason plugging a different candy in every bit? It was leading up to this.
I hope that candy is. Do you refrigerate your candy and stuff like that before you eat it, or do you like it room temperature?
That depends. It depends. Okay. Certain chocolates I like refrigerated. Certain I like room temperature. This Reese's, actually, all of the candy I showed you, except for this Reese's, was my son's candy from But this is actually mine because I've been addicted to these things lately. I like these things room temperature.
Really, I'm a big Reese's refrigerator guy.
I could see that. I can see that.
All right, so there's a lot to discuss with this film because you're right. Like, to kick off things, we don't really know where we stand right now with the current DC films because there's 4 movies coming out this year, okay? And it seems to be very speculative, and I'm pretty sure they're going to kind of wait to see what they want to keep and don't want to keep. But Zach Levi has made it sound like they are Gucci going forward. That's what he said on Twitter. So I think he's assuming that they could be going forward. And also James Gunn hasn't really said no.
Yeah, I think what James Gunn said was it's such a subset away from the DC universe, and he likes what they're doing that, he doesn't plan on, like, he didn't, I don't know if he said it, but he implied he didn't plan on touching it. So yeah, I mean, but again, when I heard it's not doing the box office they expected it to, so that could change a lot of things.
Yeah, and I honestly kind of understand if that's the decision that ends up getting made, which it would just be unfortunate, I think, in the end, because I know the box office stories are all over the place, and it's underperformed, and it hasn't made as much as even the original, which the original Shazam was not like this huge box office bonanza, but it made enough to justify making a sequel. And I think the key with that movie was the fans seem to have liked it. Like, the audience score was high on that one. Fans typically adored the first one. It's one of my favorite DCEU films.
Yeah, it's in the top for me.
Yeah, which I think we'll go through our brief updated rankings at the end of this.
Shit, I didn't update my rankings. I'll do that when we do this.
No, it's fine. So we'll get to that because I think that's where we would have to contain this for now. But overall thoughts on this film, to be completely transparent, I saw this movie in IMAX on Thursday night. I found myself in a situation where I was pretty exhausted literally eyes were burning, and I had to struggle to keep my eyes open, period, no matter what I was watching. And I thought it was okay the first time around. I thought a lot of the humor did not land with me the first time, and that was my biggest knock towards it. But then I got to see it again, fully awake, ready to go. I saw it with Jason yesterday at the Midway here in Queens, New York. And I enjoyed it a hell of a lot. I actually had a much better time with it. I like all the characters in this movie. Like, everyone seems like they're having a good time. I really like Zach Levi as Shazam, as Billy Batson. I like all the characters. Mary's great in this one. She has a little bit more to do in this one. The Shazam family in general, I think we get great villains. I mean, anytime you see Helen Mirren, like, that's great. Lucy Liu was great to see too, as well. And if you're watching this, it's not the big reveal, because I do think that there was a couple of missteps with the marketing of this film. If I didn't know Gal Gadot was in this film and that's what would have happened, I probably would have really been blown away by that.
I was, because I didn't know she was in this film.
Okay, so you did it. Yeah,
nope.
No, they threw this in a trailer that came out like last week, and my guess is that they felt like, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, because again, these movies have to make money, and that's the goal. If you see Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is in this film, she's usually box office, and that's it. Apparently, it didn't work as well. But I understand them taking a swing at it. So I think overall, I didn't like it as much as the original Shazam. There was something off from it. But overall, I think it's a solid film. I think I had a good time with it. Again, first time around, and seeing it twice definitely helped. So sometimes you do see a movie, take into consideration how you feel at the moment, if you're in a bad mood or a good mood or whatever the hell it is, because it could affect your time at the theater. But rewatch wise, I got a kick out of it. It was fun.
Yeah, for me, so my experience was I saw it for the first time yesterday with you. I was in a fine mood. We actually didn't have anything offensive going on in the theater, which is
that's right.
Which is this is the first time it's happened, because even when I've gone to see movies with my wife, there's always some asshole doing some asshole shit, and I've become the old man where I'm just like, oh God, post-pandemic has ruined this, right? Like, I said about the subway all the time too, because people are always like playing shit loudly on their phone, and I'm like, oh man, people don't know how to act after the pandemic. You're not in your fucking living room anymore. But we didn't have any of that, right? It was a nice thing. I got to eat candy for breakfast with a soda like I was a kid again, because we saw it like 11:30.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about this movie since we saw it. I think it's okay. Like, I didn't dislike it. I didn't love it. I didn't think it was great. I think there was stuff I really enjoyed, and I had a lot of fun with some certain things. But I think there were missteps. I think like there were things that didn't work so well, and there were one thing super pissed me off, and I'll get to it. But then it also made the mistake, which anyone who's watched the show knows my pet peeve is, it broke its own intrinsic logic, and I felt it kind of renders like part of the plot pointless after that. But I'll say that all of my major problems with this movie come in the third act. I think up until the third act, I was having a lot of fun and I was with it. It's the third act where it falls apart for me.
Okay.
But again, had fun with it. Don't dislike it. Just don't love it.
And so, in comparison to the first one?
Oh, no comparison at all. The first one is I don't remember my list, but the first one I think was in my top 3, because I just think that's a fun movie that has a lot of heart. And I think the first movie really juggles the tones well, of like him being a kid, I've just got superpowers, I'm being stupid and fun, with like, no, my mother left me at a carnival. And I think that movie does a really good job of that. And one of the problems I had with this movie is, like, tonally, we have 5 kids goofing around, fucking around, playing grab ass with people. But also we have people being out and out murdered by fucking old Greek monsters. And it's like, tonally that's a huge shift. And so I think like the first one does it brilliantly. I think the first one has a lot going for it, and I think this one tries to do a lot of what the first one did. I just don't think it was as successful.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. Like it does, I think it does strike the right tone, like the total stuff that's in there, because there is a lot of imagery in both of the Shazam movies that is like horror movie quality, and they have a horror movie director handling these films. So I think that's where that shows through. But I think a lot of this movie, it's the heart of the movie, and it's honestly, a lot of it is Zach Levi doing a great job being pretty much a man-child, playing a man-child here as Shazam, and that's what he should be, because it is a child in a man's body that's doing this. And the Shazam family, I think, I don't know, like they're the heart of it. Like just seeing them doing what they're doing and doing their thing here is what I enjoyed, because you got to see characters that you loved from the first one, and seeing them where they're at. Like Billy is continuing, because he has, they cover this in the trailer as well. But in the beginning of the story, he is trying to keep the team. He has a team now, and he's trying to be the leader and trying to lead the way with a superpowered bunch of teenagers, essentially. And he does lean on Mary, who in the comics was Mary Marvel. She goes ahead, and she's the oldest one. She's the adult in the room, which is why he leans on her for advice a lot, and that would make sense that that's the case. That's the big sister that's there, and that's who he keeps referring to when he's unsure about himself. And ultimately, it's Billy trying to hold his family together, because he doesn't want to. He knows he's going to age out of the foster system, and he doesn't want to be put out. So he loves what he has, and he doesn't want to see it disappear. And he's maybe become a little bit too overbearing with his family. And I think that's at the heart of the film.
Yeah, and I think that works. Like, yeah. I thought that worked. Like, the fact that when you find out that you're aging out in a couple of weeks, and he's got this real fear, and they actually just spell this out in the movie. Like, everyone you know and loved abandoned you, and you're afraid that's going to happen here. And that does pay off in the end, where he does say, and I think it was the wrong moment for this, but I get where they were going for. You had to have it at some point. But when he has that conversation with the mother, the adopted mother, like, I know that I have to leave soon. I know I'm aging out. It's like, and she's like, this is your family. Don't age out of your family. And beautiful moment. I think that is what this movie's about. And I really enjoyed him as a character wrestling with that. And, I'm a team leader, but I'm also someone desperately trying to keep the people I love together, because I've never had that. And I don't want it to go away. I think that works very well in this movie.
Yeah, that's the strongest part of the film, I think. And there's, if we go through the, Shazam family, like, I thought it was pretty cool that, the actress who played Mary in the first one, she was the child version, but she's obviously gotten older now, but now she gets to play herself when she is, Mary Marvel, essentially. That I thought was cool.
Which is why we almost never see her outside of her adult version, right? She's the one that we see the least outside of her adult version.
Yeah, because, she's basically that person all the time now. So
yes.
That's I thought that was interesting, and I think it'll be interesting that if they do have a third movie where they keep going with some of these the young actors in this, because now they're getting older. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what else? If we go with Pedro isn't given that much to do, but we do get a focus on, apparently Pedro's discovered that he is gay, and it's like, right, okay, all right, he's watching baseball because
of the band,
yes, because he's attracted to one of the players and stuff like that. And I thought that was actually kind of funny.
And I thought that was a fun moment where they go and they wake up the parents, and they're like, "There's no time for lying now. We have to be honest with about who we are." And he's like, "I'm gay," and they were all just like, "Oh, we know that.
We get that. That's not a secret to anybody, dude. What are you talking about?"
And just the relief on that guy's face, like, "Oh, okay, good." Like, I thought that was a nice moment. I really enjoyed that.
No, it was. And then we also get Freddie Freeman in this film as well, so we get to follow with him. He's given more. He was given a pretty good amount to do in the first movie, but he's given more. Yeah, he's given more to do. as Captain. He calls himself Captain Every Power.
Every Power.
Which, by the way, is I did do a little research on this. So apparently, in the old comic books in the 40s, he was referred to as Shazam Jr.
Okay.
As
so
the
that's
sidekick. So this was the wordplay on him on Shazam in this movie, calling himself Captain Everything Jr. So I thought
cool.
that was pretty cool.
I like that.
And I don't know, his story arc makes sense to me, and he has a lot of stuff to do with the Wizard, who the Wizard gets a lot more to do in this film. And I'm all here for it because he's such a wise ass.
I'm here for it too. I actually watched this movie trying to figure out how the Wizard was still the villain, but he's not. Except he really should have fucking left a manual in that cave for his champion. Like, don't break the staff. That's kind of on him. Just saying. But doesn't make him the villain. I did enjoy getting to watch him do some stuff. I liked him and Freddy being paired up. I actually did like the running joke that he keeps messing up his name. And he eventually gets it right and then messes it up on purpose at the end of the movie. That was fun. It was weird seeing him at the end all pimped out.
Yeah.
That was weird.
That was a little bit weird. I'm like, all right, so now you're back on Earth and now you're kind of just here and you're here to enjoy, humanity, I guess, and to kind of like live amongst the people now. But he's not because he's not the champion anymore. I mean, that has obviously been passed on to Billy.
No, and he says that. Like, there is a scene where he says, "You were the champion, take this power." And he went, "No, you're the champion. I know I made the right decision. Go handle shit."
Yeah. The character that's given the least amount to do with in the Shazam family is Eugene. Because, I mean, he virtually has nothing to do in this movie. I mean,
which one is Eugene?
He's the Asian brother.
Oh, okay, yeah. So his big thing is he sets up the plot point of the doors.
Yeah, but that's really it.
And then he also sets up the plot point for the doors.
Exactly. He was the one who kind of got the short end of the stick in this film because he was like, wasn't the first when he gets like the Hadouken moment and everything as he plays video games and stuff. So I thought that was fun for the first movie, but
I'll tell you something. I think that was the problem I anticipated for this movie. Even though I know that like the Shazam family is a huge thing in the comic and it's the heart, and I agree that you need it. But logistically speaking, you now have 5 or 6 main characters that have superpowers. Yeah. You can't give them all something to do while still elevating your stars.
Yeah, it's
and I think
a lot to write.
That's also why I think we got that whole plot mechanic of we can take your powers with this staff, because it's like, all right, let's take the powers of the least important of you all, so we don't have to give you screen time.
And one of my favorites in the first movie was Darla, who I think it was played by Megan Good when she's Super Darla. I thought she gets it's going to set you up for your moment there, but I for the most part, besides that whole thing, I like Darla a lot. Her whole thing with the kittens and stuff like that, and in the beginning of the movie, I thought was great. And I think her being so naive, especially when Mary goes out partying and drinking and has the sunglasses, and they refer to the eye doctor thing a couple of times. I think that's a joke that worked. It didn't work for me great the first time. The second time around, I actually thought it landed with me a lot better. But I think it's actually really funny.
I have no problem with Darla the character. I actually think she's one of the most interesting because she is the youngest and has this adult, but she's like literally a kid where the rest of them are like teenagers or like 18, 19, 20. And she's literally a fucking child with powers and adult body. And I like that character. Like I like the kitten thing where she steals the kitten and goes, I should give it back. Or when she's called on it, is that a kitten? And the kitten goes, meow. And she goes, no. Like, that's a child thing to do, right? Like I have no problem with her character. My problem was with the writing of that scene. Can I go into it now?
No. You're absolutely welcome to go into it, but all right, go ahead. You get into your issues with it, and then I'll just say I think it had good intentions, but I think it just comes off funky.
No, but I'm gonna because you did tell me like a defense of it when we were talking about it, which I've been thinking over. And I'm going to address that. But so the whole scene is, um, at the end in the third act, they have unleashed a mob of pretty much ancient Greek monsters like the Minotaur and the Cyclops. And by the way, cool to see. Like again, but they are fucking straight up murdering people in the streets, and you don't see it. But there's a woman who gets a scorpion tail in her back and then thrown through a window. There is zero way that woman survived.
No, people die in this movie.
Yes,
there's no question about it.
Which was my tonal thing, where like we also have like kids going ha 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 fart jokes as adults, but whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the scene where they go, how do we stop all of these monstrosities? Well, let's check the script. Unicorns actually are badass and hate humans and are the most feared creatures. And the kid goes, oh, what are they like? And the pen, which I actually like, the pen that just answers all your questions.
Steve? Yeah, Steve is great.
It says like, human flesh and ambrosia. And I don't remember what the first one was, but it was whatever. And she goes, ambrosia. Oh, I know how to do this. Let's go find a unicorn. And they inexplicably just come upon where this unicorn has not been birthed. It's not like they track a unicorn. This unicorn has not yet come from the tree of death that Lucy Liu has planted, but they for some reason know exactly where it's going to be born, and it is. And even though it's set up that it hates humanity more than anything else, it runs toward her, and she stands there. And I like that she stands there inflappably like a kid, like, yeah, I can't die. But then she throws Skittles at it and says, taste the rainbow. And it eats it up and goes, oh, yes, now we're all allies. Skittles saved the world, and calls other unicorns. Now, let me ask you this, Ed, because you had said, well, she's a kid and that might be something she would try, and it just worked. How does it change the scene if it is not licensed and packaged patent pending Skittles where you can buy and for good money and just make it generic gummy bears or generic jelly beans? Like, if that same scene happened and she was like, jelly beans are just like ambrosia, and it worked, I'd be like, oh shit, yeah, that's a kid thing that would have worked. And I probably wouldn't even minded that there's no way in hell they would have known where that unicorn was. But the fact that she drops taste the rainbow, we all get the moment, we need more. We got to go buy more Skittles. Skittles are saving the world. And then as they're saving the world on horseback or unicorn back, she says, taste the rainbow, motherfucker. So we double down on the taste the rainbow. This is a soulless product placement in a movie.
All right. As far as the joke goes, I just think it would have played over. It was a joke that's there.
It was a joke that made a lot of money to sell Skittles.
I'm sure. I mean, well, whatever. Listen, there's licensed stuff in movies all the time. It is what it is. I personally don't give two shits less about that part. I just think that it seemed very forced because of the way the joke is written. Personally, I think it completely plays differently. Because in the beginning of the movie, we find out that Darla has a bunch of Skittles and puts them in Mary's pants and stuff like that. And so we see that she has that. That's probably her favorite candy. If she goes ahead and gives the Skittles to these unicorns, and unicorns like it, whatever, they're okay with it. It's like, oh shit, we got to get more. Okay. And then we just get this, it plays out the same exact way. And all we get is taste the rainbow, mother, and then it gets cut off. I think the joke, for me, plays perfectly fine. I don't think it comes off nowhere near as heavy-handed.
I think if we only got the one taste the rainbow, motherfuckers, I would have been not fine with it, but I wouldn't have been so pissed off about it. It's the doubling down of it, and just it took me out of the movie. It felt like I was watching a commercial. There's time and place for product placement. You know what I'm saying? Like, I look, we covered James Bond, right? And James Bond at some point was only drinking a certain kind of vodka, but he wasn't being like, well, you know what'll shave the day if I just drink the Stoli vodka, beat them over the head with it, buy more Stoli vodka, drink more Stoli vodka, Stoli. And that's what this felt like. This felt like a commercial within my movie.
And that's what I'm saying. I think if she would have just went ahead and gave the Skittles to the unicorn, and then they're like, okay, we obviously this is helping us. We don't have to mention what it is, and we get just taste of Rainbow Mother, and then it gets cut off.
That's it.
Because I'm pretty sure she had a line in the first movie where she almost curses and it gets cut off too.
Right.
Then I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with that too. Look, if this is how this would have had to work for me to be okay with it. You put Skittles in my pocket. That's fucked up. Okay. No mention of the word Skittles, which I don't think they do. I've taken all the strawberries out, but people need to eat. That's what she does with Helen Mirren when they've got her in prison.
Yeah.
And then, wait, I know Ambrosia throws the candy. Nom, 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 nom. Then we don't mention we need more. We don't mention any of that. And then we get to taste the rainbow, motherfucker. I'd have been fine with it because then, even if it's product placement, it's also a clever progression to a joke. But the way it stands, it just it felt like a commercial.
No, and I agree. I think it's written poorly. That's all. I understand what they were going for, but it was written poorly. That's just
agreed.
What else is there? So that's pretty much the Shazam family, and also the Wizard as well, who I really liked in this movie. I thought he's great every time we see him.
Djimon Hounsou's he's a presence.
Yeah. Always.
Anyone who watches the first Shazam knows that I hate the Wizard. I think he's the villain of that first movie. I was trying to find a way to make him the villain of this movie. But Djimon Hounsou is a super talent, and I read an article where they lowball him all the time. They're not paying him what he deserves. Pay this man the money. The man brings gravitas to a movie. Even this, he brings gravitas to it.
No, he absolutely does. And then I guess that brings us to our villains in the movie. We get Helen Mirren we're going ahead, and boom, as Hespera, and then we get Lucy Liu here as Calypso. And I don't want to butcher her name here. Rachel Zegler as Athena, Anne, at one point. So they are the daughters of, I'm sorry, what? Atlas here, who has a connection to Zeus and everything, and that's where we get our big cameo at the end of the movie. But I thought the villains were cool. And especially for characters that were not in the comics. These characters were created for the film, and I liked them. I thought their whole thing, played off for me. Calypso goes off the deep end eventually. It wants revenge on humanity. Mets fans like Faraci who'd be watching this, they take down Citizens Bank Ballpark where the Phillies play. So I'm sure they'll get a kick out of that because yes, this movie takes place in Philadelphia. But I think the villains were fine. I mean, they weren't stand out all-time DCEU villains, but they were cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed them. Helen Mirren is a phenomenal actress. Lucy Liu, I think, is a great actress. Still attractive, by the way. I know she's getting older, but man, she's still pretty good looking. And I don't know who played Athena, but I liked her. I thought she was good.
Rachel Zegler.
Rachel Zegler, yeah. I'm not familiar with her work, but I liked her in this. I thought it was interesting that we had this sister dynamic that when they are in public, they're we're unified and we're doing what needs to be done. But when they're not, they're kind of bickering over how it gets done. And there's resentment for Helen Mirren, who's the oldest. And so I kind of really liked that they were playing with, sibling dynamics. And it does play into the end because Lucy Liu, as you said, goes off the deep end, and the whole plot, their whole thing, which is semi-sensical, and I'll get into why I say semi in a bit, but is Helen Mirren wants to be taken in by the Shazam family because the apple of life, or the apple that holds the seeds of life to build the new world of the gods, is in their lair that only they can get into or bring people into. And then so she gets herself caught so she can escape with the apple. And then once they get the apple, her and Athena wants to plant the seeds in the God world, to bring back the God world. And Lucy Liu goes, no, fuck all that. We're going to take this and we're going to make Earth hell for them. And I kind of like that, like sibling sort of rivalry and stuff. So yeah, like I like the actors a lot, and I did for the most part like their plan.
Okay. Now your logic part.
So here's my logic part. Like, they make a big deal that the only way you can get into this place is if you are a Shazam champion. That is why the apple is there. It is set up by Jamon Hansu. Like, no, I put in a place that only I and other Shazam folk can get into. No one else can get there. And Helen Mirren specifically lets herself get caught on that premise. And then she escapes and she goes to the room of doors and knows exactly which door that happens to lead to her fucking villain cave. You know, she just, good thing there's a door to where they are in their villain cave, which is not even my logic problem. My logic problem is when they get through the door and get the apple and try to get back, everyone follows them through that door, including Lucy Liu on a dragon. And it's like, well, if anyone could just go through that door, why did you even make your presence known to any of these people? Why didn't you just slip through the fucking door, steal the apple, leave, and do whatever you wanted? Like, it made no sense because they set up that only Shazam people can get into this place. And then Lucy Liu literally rides through the door, destroying it with a dragon, and then rides through another door into our world with the dragon. It's like, none of this should be happening by the logic you set up in the first 20 minutes of your own movie.
That's fair. I have no rebuttal to that whatsoever. I've got no rebuttal to that, man.
And as anyone who knows who watches the show, that is my biggest pet peeve. I will buy anything. If you tell me that this is a world inhabited by sexy female Kool-Aid men that want to, I don't know, recreate The Simpsons from memory, I don't know. It's ridiculous. But if you tell me that's the intrinsic logic of your movie, I'll buy into it. You can't break that logic.
And that's fair. I think that's just good writing. So you're requesting good writing.
I'm requesting good writing in my Shazam movie, yes. Which
no, in any movie, whatever. You write the movie, make sure it makes sense.
Exactly. And I was going to say, I don't think it's an unfair request because I've seen there are a lot of these superhero movies where I go, yeah, could this happen in real life? Absolutely not. I'm not in real life. Does it make sense within the world they built? Yes, that's all I ask.
Yeah. So Billy ends up dying at the end of this movie. He literally does die and sacrifices himself for his family and for everybody, which is, a huge deal. And then the only way to pretty much bring him back is they need another god to revive him and to basically bring magic there. And Wonder Woman shows up, which is the second time that we get a Wonder Woman tease per se throughout the movie. Because earlier in the film, we get a scene where Billy is dreaming, and he apparently has a crush on Wonder Woman, which I don't understand why. But the director of this film makes this kind of a goof on themselves, where you remember back to the first movie where at the end where we had the Superman cameo, but the head was cut off, so you couldn't see if it was Henry Cavill or not. In that dream sequence I was referring to, there are shots of Wonder Woman from the side, from the back, you don't see the face, and then turn around and it's Jamon Hansu as the wizard invading Billy's dream as Wonder Woman. So you kind of figured, all right, you subverted the crowd's expectations of Wonder Woman actually appearing because you've seen the first movie. And then in that final scene, she actually shows up. And yes, it is actually Gal Gadot who shows up to save the day, to take the staff and revive Billy Batson, brings him back. He has a cool moment where he gets to see her face to face and, tries to pretty much confesses his crush on her. And she's like, listen, kid, stick to saving people and stuff like that. Really always cool to see her, even though, we both have our feelings about Wonder Woman 84. She was not the problem with the movie she's not really one of the problems in the movie.
No.
But I don't know. I thought it was pretty awesome, and it didn't seem like it was a shoehorned in, appearance at all.
I agree. I actually thought the appearance was done very well. So I didn't know, because again, I didn't know she was going to be in this movie, because I avoid, as I always say on the show, unless Ed texts me and says you have to watch this trailer for the show, I don't watch trailers. I don't watch spoiler material. I knew I was going to see this, so why do I have to know everything about it before I go in? Right? I'm going to see it. You don't need to sell me on it. So I didn't know she was going to be in it. So when that dream sequence happened, which I didn't realize was a dream sequence at first, and they just show her back and they're not showing her face, I was kind of like, okay, you're kind of paying homage to the first one when you did that with Superman. But like, and I thought this in real time, like, all right, but this is getting kind of annoying now. This is like, I get it, but is this going to be your thing? But then when she actually shows up and it's her, and you see Gal Gadot, and it's like, oh no, wow, okay, no, they paid that off, and they kept peppering in enough, but not too much, about like, his thing for Wonder Woman. Like, he wants to send her one of those like bird messages, which no, he does send her a bird.
No, he does send it.
Yeah. And I like the fact that, like, because I was also like, once he died, I was like, I know he's not dead. And it pisses me off when they like kill superheroes in a movie just to bring them back, because it's like, I like in the next movie, or like right away, like not even like like in the next movie, just right away, because it's like, okay, so you just did that to pull my heartstrings and get me all tense, but now it's all fine. But at least this was like, okay, no, he's back, but like he's back because the actual Wonder Woman is here to do it, and she is the last living god, and it didn't feel cheap to me. I was like, oh no, this is kind of just an interesting way to pay off Gal Gadot being in this movie, and so yeah, I thought it worked. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I know there was a thing online over the last 24 hours or so I've seen where people are whining about it. Apparently, they've set the record straight here. The director basically went ahead and put a David S. Sandberg here, who pretty much said it's because, yes, the body double scene where we don't see her face is not Gal Gadot. That is a body double.
Right.
But she couldn't make it to Atlanta where they were filming this. So, yes, they had to shoot her scenes separately and kind of like CGI her into the scenes that are there. So not exactly the deep fake that was being accused of. She's in the movie. Gal Gadot's actually in the movie.
So is she not acting against them in that last scene?
No, she's not.
Oh, all right.
Which you wouldn't have known unless you actually heard it or knew about it. I didn't think anything was off. I thought it looked fine.
Me too. I didn't clock anything. And yeah, no, that counts as her in the movie. Look,
no, she's in the movie. She acted in scenes and was filmed in the movie.
Look, if you're gonna tell me the guy who played Grand Moff Tarkin is in that that Star Wars movie between Rogue One, which I really like, which is a shame I couldn't remember the name. One. But if you tell me it's actually my fourth favorite Star Wars movie. But if you tell me that Grand Moff Tarkin is in that movie and that man's been dead for 30 years, Gal Gadot's in this movie. That's it. So it's the same principle.
Yeah. I thought that whole thing worked. And also it raises a lot of the questions of exactly for the future of this. Like, are you going to bury the DCU, after Aquaman or not? I don't know. We'll see. I personally think they're going to, I talked about this yesterday, let's get to that in a second. Let's cover the post-credit scenes because I think that will add to this. So we get there's a mid-credit scene and there's a post-credit scene. The mid-credit scene is Agent from Peacemaker, which is why I wore the Peacemaker shirt as well.
That's right.
It was Economos.
Economos, yeah, and James Gunn's wife, which is a terrible thing to call her, but I don't remember her name or her name in the show because I haven't watched Peacemaker in a while.
Yeah, I'm going to look that up quickly just so we have Harcourt. That's what it is.
That's it. Harcourt.
Harcourt and Economos are there.
I didn't even remember Economos, to be fair.
Okay. But they're in and they track down Shazam because apparently Waller sent them saying that he'd be a good member of the team. He's doing his like laser guns to like some bottles and shit like that. You want to ask the question of why he's doing that? He's a fucking 18-year-old kid with superpowers. Who gives a shit?
You know what's funny is as someone who gatekeeps like myself, like these intrinsic logic things, I didn't even question because what would I have done when I was 18 with superpowers? I'd probably be more Brightburn than I am this guy. I mean, like, this guy's just going in and shooting cans. It's like, no, that makes complete sense. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I do love the fact of like, like, why are you here? Who sent you? Hardcore's probably like, doesn't matter. Don't worry about it, because it's true. Fuck that. She could have been talking to the audience too. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But you want to join the Justice, and he's like, I'm in. Whatever, if it's the Wonder Woman team, I'm in. And she's just like, no, it's the Justice Society. And they do make this joke really landed for me, where he's like, why would you have it? Because it's true. A lot of fans have asked, why do you have the Justice League and Justice Society? Two Justice teams in the same universe who have no affiliation from each other. That doesn't make any sense. You could have went with the Avengers. And he's like, I like that for some reason.
Yeah. Oh, the Avengers Society.
The Avengers Society, which they were saying that because
they were 100% saying the Avengers, but what I appreciated was he didn't lose the society for the joke. Like, we know why he's saying it as the audience, but like, he's not going the Avengers, huh? He's like, I don't know, it could be the Avengers Society, because he runs like 3 or 4 down.
Yeah.
Like,
and
the Authority Society.
And I love the fact that it's like, ooh, I like that. I don't know why.
Yeah, it was a nice meta joke. I appreciated that.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. And then at the end, they pretty much have a scene again with Mr. Mind, who was the post-credit scene from the first one, going ahead and visiting the doctor in the cell. And they make a whole joke of it's been 2 years, and he had to go do a couple of things, and he could only slither around, so things take him for a while.
That was hysterical.
He was like, wait, I have to go again. He was like, no, please, no, not again.
That was hysterical when he's telling him, well, I've got this plan, I'm doing this, and I've been doing that. He's like, but it's been 2 years. And he's like, well, it takes me a very long time to get places. I don't have feet or wings. I can just slither places. Like, I don't just that injection of reality into this ridiculously fantastic scene of like a talking caterpillar.
And you felt bad for Dr. Savannah at that point too, like, oh man, fuck. So apparently the inside joke to that was that they were going to go with that with the sequel. It was being written, and then during the writing process, they decided to create the villains that we do get in this movie. So that's why that was tabled, and hopefully they do get a third movie, but we'll see where that goes, because apparently the director David Sandberg says that he's going to go back to horror films for a little while. He's going to take a break from superhero movies. I don't know if that's because he got the axe already from Warner Brothers or not, but it could be, could not be. I don't know. So there was a couple of Easter eggs in this film that were a lot of fun, but my favorite was the 70s Billy Batson showing up in that one scene. His name was Michael Gray, who played Shazam in that, and he has the red and yellow shirt on as well, and calls him Captain Marvel.
Yes, that was
which
fun.
I thought was hilarious.
That was fun.
There's a Starro reference in this movie as well, where he's up on a board. There's an Annabelle doll that's in the doctor's playroom that's there, which is the third time the Annabelle doll has showed up in the DCU films. He was in. She's seen in Aquaman and the original Shazam.
Maybe Annabelle is canon. Maybe we're gonna get like an Annabelle versus the Justice Society movie.
That would be great. I would watch that.
I would too, actually, especially if you bring back the what are those that couple who were like the paranormal investigators, but they were really scammers. What are the Warrens?
Oh yeah, in the Conjuring.
Yeah, right. Like, because Annabelle is from The Conjuring, right? So bring me the actors who play the Warrens. Like, bring me like the guy from Night Owl from The Watchmen, and give me that crossover. I'm there.
David Sandberg directed Annabelle. That's why he keeps doing this, and James Wan was producing it. He's done the Conjuring movie, so.
No, right, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're putting this in there and you're melding these worlds together, then give me that movie.
Yeah. So I guess that questions though is that what's the future of Shazam now? Because with the whole DC Studios thing up in the air, it kind of looked like if this was a success, I personally would have thought it was James Gunn was going to keep Shazam, because I still think we're going to get some cherry picking going on here. Yeah. Peacemaker will continue. The Suicide Squad, I think, keeps going, not just James Gunn stuff. But I think Shazam could work, and I also thought Wonder Woman was going to keep going. So
and Aquaman, right? Like there's talk that they might keep Jason Momoa. Oh, well, they're going to keep him. We just don't know as what, right?
Yeah, they haven't said what, and I don't know. But then there's also the early word on Aquaman 2 has been that it's one of the worst DCU films ever. Like, it's gotten some really bad word of mouth very early on.
But yet they're not going to scrap it like they did Batwoman or Batgirl or whatever.
I don't know. I'm hoping it's not true. Hopefully it's bullshit. I have no idea. Maybe this reshoots something. I don't know.
You know what the thing is, though, and this I think is important to keep in mind. You can keep an actor as the character without keeping the world they lived in because they're about to reset the universe.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a very DC thing to do because in the comics, they've had the New 52. You've had a whole bunch of things where you cherry-picked certain characters to bring into your universe. I mean, Marvel did it too, where when they decided to end the Ultimate Universe, they cherry-picked Miles Morales and put him into the regular 616.
Right, exactly.
Universe. So you could and just keep him because I think I don't know. I'm just Zach Levi. I really like him as Shazam. So I think it'd be silly.
That's the thing is they could easily keep him. He's the easiest to keep, to be honest, because they could retcon everything. They could go, okay, well, essentially everything that happens in these Shazam movies aren't there. That never happened. But because of multiverse magic, Zach Levi is still the face of Shazam.
Yeah.
They don't even have to keep the guy who played Billy Batson if they don't want to.
No, if they don't want to.
Right, and I'm sure they could cherry pick other things from these movies, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I'm just saying he's the easiest to keep. And I think James Gunn has already said that he kind of likes what's going on in these movies. So even if I think this movie tanks, which I don't think it is, it's just not making the money they wanted it to. I think they could very easily go, Zach Levi is still our Shazam, but the world is reset and everything else is different. And I think, look, are we going to question it? No, we're just going to go see it and review it like we're supposed to.
Yeah, so I think that's the deal with it. And again, I have a soft spot for the character as well as I really like what they've done. Even if I wasn't head over heels with this film, I still really enjoyed the movies in general. But all right, let me give a quick rundown of my DCU rankings, and that are updated now with this. I'm gonna go top to bottom.
Okay.
I have, and this is tough because I feel like the top two can flip flop at any moment. But I'm gonna go with The Suicide Squad, which ironically is James Gunn's movie. Mm-hmm. So that shows you why I'm optimistic about him taking over DC Studios. Then I have Shazam, the original, in second place.
Okay.
Then I have the first Wonder Woman in third. Then I have Man of Steel. Then I have Zack Snyder's Justice League. Then I have Shazam! Fury of the Gods coming in right after that.
Interesting.
So it's about, I have it there slightly above Aquaman. Then I have Ultimate BVS. Then I have Black Adam. And then I would say I have Birds of Prey, the wonderful, fantastical emancipation of Harley Quinn, sisters, brothers, roommates, uncles, cousins, whatever the title of the movie is. Then I will say Justice League will come in after that.
Okay.
And then I have Wonder Woman 84. And then I have Suicide Squad.
Okay.
So that is my current rundown of the DCU until we get the rest of it that's coming out this year. Jason, what do you got? I know yours are very different.
I'm putting it together right now. Give me a second.
Okay. Which makes sense because the DCU, again, has been divisive amongst so many fans. It would make sense that our show would also have a completely different list. The two hosts of the show would have different lists. And we also started our show with our DCEU run purposely because it was divisive.
Yes, that's true.
That is why we made our choice at the time.
Very true. All right. Let's see. All right, let me see if I can do this. All right. So The Suicide Squad is my favorite. That's my number one.
All right, so we got the shared number one.
2 is very, very low on your list, Birds of Prey.
Oh, sweet Jesus Christ.
I fucking love that movie. You cannot tell me that movie isn't fun. Then I got Wonder Woman, which I really do enjoy Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Then I got Shazam.
Okay.
Then I got Aquaman. Then I got Man of Steel, because Man of Steel was bumped in my rewatch.
I'm surprised you have that. I'm surprised you don't have that above Aquaman. I'm kind of surprised.
I had more fun with Aquaman.
Okay.
Like, I think my problem with Man of Steel is just that it tries to give us the dark Clark Kent, and it just doesn't work fully for me. That's all.
Okay, that's fair.
And then we've got what? All right, that's where I stopped writing when I said I got this. Then I would say maybe Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? And then I would say Suicide Squad.
Okay.
You know that I have a soft spot for that because of Harley Quinn. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's a good movie at all. I watch our second or third episode where I literally admit it's garbage, but I still enjoy it. Then I would probably say, no, I'm sorry. Fury of the Gods is above Justice League. My bad. Fury of the Gods is after Man of Steel.
Okay.
And then it's Zack Snyder's Justice League. Then it's Suicide Squad. Then it is. Oh God! Now we're in slim pickings.
Hold on a second. Where's Black Adam?
Black Adam's low, man. That was a bad movie.
But Justice League?
No. Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Okay.
No. Zack Snyder.
Okay.
It's the Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman, Shazam, Aquaman, Man of Steel, Fury of the Gods, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Then I would have to say Black Adam.
Okay.
And then Justice League. And then Eeny, Mighty Mo. I mean, I think BVS is just as bad as 84 for me. I know.
Oh, wow.
I know that you enjoy it, but I found it to be such. I don't know. It never clicked with me, man. It never clicked with me. But I would look. I'll give you this. BVS is better than 84 because 84 was miserable. I'll give you that.
I was about to say, just think about it for a second. Think about the Batman scenes in BVS, especially the hangar scene.
That alone, even though it's a shitty movie, which I don't like.
Okay.
That alone is better than Wonder Woman 1984. You're right. I should not have even thought to put Wonder Woman 84 anywhere except for at the bottom where it belongs. I forgot Suicide Squad would be in between Fury of the Gods and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Not that I think it's a better movie, just as we talked about, Zack Snyder's Justice League was interesting and I enjoyed a lot of it. I could not possibly sit down and watch it again.
Yeah, I also think Zack Snyder's Justice League would be higher up in my rankings if it wasn't 4 hours.
Yes.
It's just the rewatch. The movie itself has a lot going for it, but it's just the 4 hours.
And an hour of that is Zack Snyder's slow-mo scenes. Like that's the thing. It's not like it's jam-packed with 4 hours and you can't pare anything down because it's all important. It's like, now you have 10 minutes of Superman walking. Get the fuck out of here. Like that's egregious in your 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
I agree with you. If it was shorter, if it was pared down, I think it would have been higher for me. But just for that length alone, it's kind of a killer.
That's fair. All right, let's get to one quick comment before we wrap this episode up. Tim and his never-ending hatred for Wonder Woman 84 says Wonder Woman 84 was the worst thing to happen to the planet since the asteroid that killed dinosaurs. Tim, I would actually watch Wonder Woman 84 over 28 Days Later, twice on Sunday, anytime over. I will take Gal Gadot doing anything versus 28 Days Later. Any day of the week. No problem. So I cannot say it's the worst thing to happen since then. And yes, I have seen worse movies. Having said that, the movie's fucking horrible.
Although that movie's pretty down there. Like that's a
It's
pretty
awful.
bad. Yeah.
It's awful. And there's no defense of it. You have Gal Gadot and Pedro Pascal, and we still hate the movie. Don't forget, Pedro Pascal was in that movie.
I do forget because he is the Wishmaster, and I always just think the villain is the Wishmaster. But no, it's Pedro Pascal as the Wishmaster.
It's true. Ah, man. You had Pedro Pascal as Max Lord, and you found a way to fucking make that shit.
I know. That movie is just a... You're right. I don't even like... Because I do dislike BVS so much, it took me a second, but you're right. Now that I'm thinking about Wonder Woman 84, no, there's no question. Like, there's no question. I'd rather watch Doomsday jerk off or do whatever the fuck he does in that movie for 3 hours before I'd watch 20 minutes of Wonder Woman 84.
It's unwatchable. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. As always, we appreciate it. If you checked us out on the Facebook live stream, be sure to join the Granny's Peach Tea Facebook group. We have a lot of daily conversation that goes on there, sharing trailers and stories and stuff that doesn't make the show. So be sure to check that out. Also check out Pop Culture Pros and popculturepros.com, because that's who we are presented by. If you're checking us on YouTube, you can subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. On Twitter, follow at Pop Culture Pros. And wherever you found your audio-only podcast, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros. We got a lot of cool stuff going on the channel. And we got stuff. We got baseball season starting up. So we got the Empire 161 show coming that covers the New York Yankees. You have the Put It in the Book show that covers the Mets, if that's your thing. You got Unsportsmanlike Conduct, which is a weekly all-sports show that goes on here. And many other stuff that goes on. So check that out. For Jason and I, you have 00 Deep Dive, which will be back next week. And what will you guys be covering?
So we'll be back next week, and we're going to be covering You Only Live Twice, which is a very interesting movie. I also was able, because we were supposed to do that last week and something happened, couldn't do it, so we're going to do it next week. But I was glad it did, because it gave me the opportunity to finish the novel. And boy, is there a lot to talk about between that novel and that book. So join Ginny and myself, and we'll be talking the hell out of that movie.
All right. And also we have Deep Dive Scream, which we'll be talking about Scream 5, because they called it Scream for some reason. Just decided to leave the number off that one, so that was weird. And we'll be talking about Scream 6. So we're just trying to get the schedule worked out with Jada. And we're trying to get back on Wednesday, so we'll do that for the last episode of that run. So be sure to check that out. Jason and I will be back next Monday night with another episode of Granny's Peach Tea. We'll be talking about the latest episode of Superman and Lois, along with actually The Flash is skipping a week. So we do not have The Flash this week.
Praise Kal-El.
But we will be having another episode of Gotham Knights, unfortunately, so not all is well. And we got to double check our schedule, because I forgot. We will be covering the Mario Brothers movies, and the new one coming out, Super Mario Brothers the movie, which only means for us, we got to go back to 1993.
Oh, God.
And watch Super Mario Brothers, the live action film with John Leguizamo
and Bob Hoskins and Dennis Hopper.
Sounds like a great cast, doesn't it?
It does sound like. Wouldn't you be excited if you had never seen it before?
And if you haven't seen it, good luck trying to find it, because it virtually doesn't fucking exist. But thankfully, we have secret ways here on Granny's Peach Tea to get a hold of films that don't actually exist. So,
and before anyone thinks it's illegal, what happens is I call Kang, and I'm like, Kang, can you please go to a multiverse where this is like readily available to stream and bring me the IP? And he does. So it's legal, guys. Kang helped us out. It's legal.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Thank you, Kang, for doing this for us and helping us out, because we'll be taking a dip down to Mario Lane over the next.
Is that next week?
So,
is that what we're doing next week?
I got to double check. We'll talk offline about that, but I know it's either next week or the week after. I got to double check that schedule I sent you.
Okay.
So, but hopefully you enjoyed your show, and I'll see you next week. Peace.